Here's a quick rundown of everything Kamala Harris just said at her DNC speech. Quick note, RFK Jr.'s speech today on the health epidemic, the food industry and how toxic it is, and the dropping out to back Donald Trump, especially after he says Kamala Harris ignored him, was actually an insightful conversation. If at minimum, I suppose it was more of a speech, but if at minimum you wanted to see what RFK said about the food and health industry, highly recommend it. He's super anti-processed foods and the chemicals that are in our foods today, how they affect our children. Honestly, he seems very, very in the middle, and I know he's got the reputation of sort of an anti-vax crazy, but he was pretty educated in that discussion on nutrition. I'm a big fan of nutrition myself, so I just wanted to give that a quick shout out. It's also relevant to Kamala Harris and Trump, obviously. Now, I've detailed a little bit more on the potential of RFK to join Donald Trump in a separate video. This you can see on my channel, but the bottom line of it was that Citibank actually believes that RFK dropping out to back Donald Trump, which we talked about a couple days ago, could actually help Donald Trump win in all swing states. Because that little bit, that 5% of the vote that RFK was getting, even if 2 or 3% goes to Trump, could be enough to get Donald Trump to win those swing states. So keep that in mind. Even if you don't like RFK, if you're a Harris supporter or not, you've got to be paying attention to what ends up happening there. Is he going to get a cabinet post or not? Watch that. Second quick note is we do have a Jackson Hole flash sale on the courses on building your wealth today. We had one trade that was up over 2x today, and another trade right into market close up about 17%. Not designed to copy, but I send you trend signals and what I'm doing so you could look at it and go, do I think I agree with that trend or not? And you get a little notification. Makes it easy for you. Check it out over at meetkevin.com. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Now, let's get into Kamala Harris's speech. First, she starts off very characteristic Kamala Harris. Happy, cheery, smiley Kamala Harris. This is really designed on purpose to make her seem like that relatable Kamala Harris that's here to tell you about how great the future is going to be and how optimistic and hopeful she is for the future. And I've actually made a video on the difference between hope and fear before. Bottom line out of that whole video was mostly because I ended up not keeping it on the channel. I didn't explain it correctly. But bottom line out of that, simply put, is that fear is a psychological emotion that is very, very expensive to feed in your body, so it doesn't last very long. I think of it as kind of like pouring fuel on a fire. It very loudly explodes and then fades away. Hope is actually a psychological feeling that can last a lot longer, and so usually hopeful and optimistic entrepreneurs, for example, statistically do better than those who are pessimistic or fearful, especially since fear can sometimes lead to inaction. Some fear can actually lead to people not turning out to vote. And so the reason I bring that up is I do think that Donald Trump has a risk to his campaign, and that if he is too fearful, he might end up pushing people into the fear of despair and inaction. Excuse me. I'm coughing about the bull crap that I even have to talk about this different psychology, but it's apparently it's apparently very important these days. And then the hope and optimism of Kamala Harris is actually turning into a strength of hers. Now, both left-leaning and right-leaning platforms have commented on Donald Trump's attempted attacks against Kamala Harris's cheeriness and her laugh, or her cackle, as they like to say. And they actually say that Donald Trump is actually just highlighting something that is good for Kamala, and he should probably back away off of that and maybe strike a little bit of a balance between fear and optimism as well to try to chop away at Kamala Harris's late sort of success. Now, remember, a lot of people think that's just because Kamala Harris had the initial sugar high. We still haven't gotten public interviews yet. We still haven't gotten unscripted events. We still haven't, well, mostly unscripted events. Most of them have been teleprompter safe. We still haven't actually gotten terms from her. And really in this speech, we don't get too much, although I'll go through some things. So she says she wants to chart a path forward for all Americans, that she wants to be the president for all Americans. This is all extremely Obama-like. I am 99% certain Obama went through and kind of tuned up her speech. Kind of makes sense. But anyway, she even gets to the end of her speech with, "My fellow Americans." And I'm like, who's on stage? Is that Obama? Anyway, so her goal is to unite America from the courthouse to the White House. She talks about the consequences of Trump being severe. Of course, she uses J6. She uses him being guilty of fraud. She uses him being liable for sexual abuse. I've been having trouble saying that. And she argues that Donald Trump, without the guardrails of a court system, given the presidential immunity clause now implemented by the Supreme Court, would only serve Donald Trump and potentially lead to an unhinged Donald Trump. This is actually Kamala Harris here using fear, right? The Democrats will use fear as well. They did that in California when I ran for governor as well. Kamala Harris then mistakenly, well, it's just, frankly, at this point, a straight up lie. She says that we already know what Donald Trump's second term plan is. It's all written out in Project 2025. Okay, this is a bit of an eye roller. This is a very strong claim that Democrats make, though it's completely false. Donald Trump has made it very clear that he thinks much of Project 2025 is extreme, though he has aligned with some of the principles in it, such as ending or limiting the Department of Education. We just heard about that in his interview with Elon Musk. And the reason I say it's a strong claim is because most people who hear Project 2025, they haven't read it, they just sort of recoil from it, especially on the left, obviously. And they don't think, oh, does Donald Trump actually support this? They just hear Project 2025 and they think bad, extreme, reject. And so Democrats continue to reiterate this because it's something that gets cheers. Also, she somewhat suggests that Project 2025 bans abortion. No, not even Project 2025, which Trump doesn't even endorse, bans abortion. It's worth noting. Like, look at it. I don't know. It has obviously other ideas around contraception and abortion, things like that. But again, these aren't policies that Donald Trump has endorsed. Anyway, she says she will fight for the middle class, protect Social Security and Medicare. Now, I always think this is really interesting because people always like to say, oh, the other guy's going to take away your Social Security and Medicare benefits. This is really popular because, let's be real, people on Social Security and Medicare, they vote. And people my age and younger don't. So it's a very easy attack to land, whether it's true or not. And in this case, it's false. When Donald Trump was president, he did not touch Social Security. And while he did recently talk about Social Security, it wasn't to hurt Social Security. It was actually to make Social Security benefits non-taxable for seniors. Now, there is this extended argument that, oh, that's going to make the sustainability of Social Security even worse, and then Social Security will collapse, and therefore Trump's going to ruin Social Security. That's a little bit of an extreme argument. Obviously, at some point, we're going to have to get our fiscal house in order, but I don't think either of these presidents are going to take care of that. The best hope, frankly, that we have is that our economy is just going to grow faster than our debt, and eventually our productivity and the growth in innovation in America outpaces all the debt. We just basically inflate it away. That can happen in a best case scenario. But anyway, this video isn't really about that. It's to keep going with this. So, as far as Medicare and stripping benefits, Donald Trump has never suggested stripping Medicare benefits from recipients. He has suggested stripping benefits from healthcare companies to sort of rein them in, but this is something that Democrats do as well. Now, as far as Kamala Harris suggesting she's going to make housing and healthcare and groceries more affordable, we haven't really heard much on this other than she wants to fight price gouging. We heard a little bit about how she wants to, provide down payment assistance for Americans. Okay, we still haven't gotten details for this, so TBD. Donald Trump's tax breaks, she says, will make his friends rich. I don't know about that. Donald Trump proposes lowering the corporate tax rate to 15% versus raising it to 28% under Kamala Harris. It's currently at 21%, although that is down from 35% before the Trump administration. So we've been higher than where Kamala wants to go anyway. Biden also wanted to go to 28%, but he never made it there. I personally am kind of anti-tax, although I know that's ironic given that I'm in California and I pay like 55% of my income to taxes. Yes. Again, I'm coughing at the nonsense here. We don't always do logical things. But anyway, so I would generally argue that lower taxes kind of benefit all, but some people argue it's trickle-down economics and it won't work. I just think lower taxes lead to less deadweight loss. It's an economic principle. You either believe it or you don't. She says that Donald Trump's national sales tax will cost families nearly $4,000. This is a reference to Donald Trump's tariff on China. It's basically a way to be protectionist and actually protect U.S. manufacturing and encourage buying U.S. things rather than foreign things. So if you kind of replaced buying the foreign things with U.S. things, you wouldn't be paying that tariff, so to speak, although Trump argues that the other countries are going to pay that tariff. Yes, theoretically, if you ended up continuing to buy Chinese goods rather than American goods, which might be more expensive anyway, yes, you'd probably have to pay more for those goods and services after the Trump tariff. The problem is how much. Now, Kamala Harris says up to $4,000 for the average middle-class family. This is based on a left-leaning organization's study referring to that range of payment potentially being somewhere, or costs being somewhere between $2,500 to $3,900 due to those tariffs for the average middle-class family. The Peterson Institute, which is more center, pegs this at $1,700. And I don't have any right-leaning estimates. I looked. I couldn't get any reliable ones. I'm sure they're out there, but whatever. So this is difficult to determine, frankly. We also don't even know if those tariffs would go through. But yeah, I mean, probably would increase costs if Donald Trump did increase tariffs like that. Anyway, that's that. Then we get to the abortion stuff. Okay. This is tough because the reality is it is true. There are 10 to 11 states. Arizona's the asterisk in this one. Otherwise, you've got Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, Missouri, Ohio, Wisconsin, South Dakota that do not have a rape or incest law. So if you get raped, you got to carry the baby to term. It's not great. Incest, you get raped. I mean, that's a combination there. That's just a really bad day. You got to carry the baby to term. Yeah, it's not good. I get it. I get the preciousness of life, but that's a toughie. I mean, even Donald Trump stands for exceptions for rape or incest. Then other states have exceptions for these, but they expire after 8 to 22 weeks, so you have to be quick. You have to report it to the police. And then another one that's a little tough is that 13 states do currently not allow you to terminate a baby that's going to die anyway with fatal fetal anomalies. Now that I think is kind of wild as well, because if the child's basically guaranteed to die anyway, it's terrible, but like, why put the woman through that kind of hell? Whatever. So just to be clear, that gives you a little bit on where some states are. Most states have abortion rights between 6 to basically fetal viability. There's no state that lets you have an abortion up to like 40 weeks unless there's a life of mother issue, in which case all states actually allow abortions up to the life of the mother, up to term, if it's because of the life of the mother being at risk. Worth knowing these things. Okay, so with that said, Donald Trump has in the past suggested maybe there could be a nationwide blanket abortion ban at some compromised term between 14 to 24 weeks. That he has dropped. And so there is no current plan to have a nationwide abortion plan, and he leaves it up to the states. But that does leave those certain states that have no exception for rape or incest or the fetal fatal anomalies kind of in a little tough spot for women. And there are probably going to be a lot of women that hear Kamala say, I'm going to codify your right to an abortion, especially in those cases. And the Kamala Harris is going to get a lot of votes on this one. So that is going to be a weak point for Donald Trump. Though, again, there are a lot of people listening to this right now and go, Kevin, even if it's rape or incest, that's still murder. And frankly, it is. Anyway, everybody's going to vote their heart on that one, obviously. Keep in mind, I have 7 children, okay? I love children. But anyway, so this is obviously always touchy, so I just give you the information, then you can decide. Kamala Harris says we will bring back the border security bill that Donald Trump killed. Okay, did Donald Trump kill a border security bill? Yes. There was a bipartisan security bill that had support from both sides. The National Border Patrol Council, it's a Border Patrol union, they endorsed the bill. The bill would have tightened asylum standards. It would have increased spending on the Border Patrol department, basically, Department of Homeland Security, and therefore the Border Patrol, and it would limit entrance into the United States through borders, though it probably wouldn't continue to build another Trump wall, which Donald Trump is a big fan of. It would have increased funding and tried to limit illegal immigration and increase controls and provide more funding for the asylum process or otherwise to actually get people through court systems and find the legal immigrants doing it the right way and getting them processed. Donald Trump did kill this, and frankly, it is true that he probably killed it for political reasons, which, yes, it comes across as selfish, and frankly, it is. Donald Trump's defense to this is, yes, but you got to do what you got to do to win, and then once we're in, we could do it right our way. So, yes, it's being used as a tool to help Donald Trump win. I don't know how well that's going to resonate with people. Everybody's going to have their own opinion on this. Kamala Harris says Donald Trump says Russia could do whatever the hell they want. This is highly out of context. This references Donald Trump suggesting that NATO members need to pay their bills. This is basically the agreement to pay 2% of the country's GDP towards national defense and NATO contributions in defense spending. And if you don't, then you shouldn't deserve the protection of NATO. He's basically saying no pay, no stay. And that gets taken out of context to say, oh, okay, Donald Trump encouraged Russia to invade. Remember, Donald Trump's strongest point here is that Donald Trump did not have any new wars under him. Bush, Obama, and Biden did. Donald Trump really got to talk that one up more. Anyway, then she says we're working to end the suffering in Gaza while ensuring Israel's safety. Okay, I mean, this is like the most in-the-middle thing you could say. She says we won't hesitate to fight Iran, and we won't cozy up to people like Kim Jong-un, like Donald Trump did. I'm not opposed to Donald Trump having met Kim Jong-un. I actually think it's kind of a good thing that you could normalize relations and talk to, an evil dictator. Kamala Harris says that's because Trump wants to be an evil dictator, which a lot of Democrats believe, that he will never leave office if he comes in again. But that one goes a little too far for me. Then she, again, ends with, my fellow Americans. Again, very Obama-like. The entire speech, very populist, strong, Obama-like, and short on detail. That's to be expected, though. I don't blame her. This isn't the place to release specific policy plans. It's the DNC, okay? So I'm a little disappointed, not for the lack of detail. I'm just disappointed in sort of the repeated falsehoods. In fairness, Trump does it too. I just hate that about politics, but I guess that's why I have a job. And that's why I'm able to say, hey, if you want to join the courses on building your wealth, go to meetkevin.com. Take advantage of that flash sale and coupon code before tonight at 59 p.m. California time. Questions, email us at staff@meetkevin.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye and good luck.
These things that you told us here, I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in HouseHack to always read the PPM at househack.com.